Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. The US Vice President has addressed the funeral of Tyre Nichols, who died last month after being beaten by police. Kamala Harris told the service in Memphis the officers who punched and kicked Mr. Nichols weren't acting in the interest of public safety, and she urged Congress to pass a police reform bill. The Celebration Choir welcomed people to the ceremony. Mr. Nichols died 3 days after a traffic stop. 5 police officers are facing murder charges. His mother, Rovon Wells, gave an emotional speech.
Tyre was a beautiful person, and for this to happen to him is just unimaginable. I promise you, the only thing that's keeping me going is the fact that I really truly believe my son was sent here on an assignment from God.
The flagship company of one of the world's richest men, Gautam Adani, has made a dramatic U-turn and will return $2.5 billion to investors poised to buy new shares in the firm. A damning report by a US investment firm led to a mass sell-off of shares. The Adani Group have rejected the report's accusations as lies. Here's Jonathan Josephs.
Adani Enterprises had been trying to raise more money from investors to help fuel its growth. It did that successfully, but has decided to refund the cash because of the volatility caused by what it says are extraordinary circumstances. That's a reference to the more than $80 billion that's been wiped off the group's value in the last few days, which came after a US investment firm accused it of brazen stock manipulation and accounting fraud.
The Brazilian Air Force says it's begun operations in the Amazon against illegal gold miners accused of invading a vast indigenous reservation and killing members of the Yanomami community. It follows a pledge by the country's new left-wing president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, to tackle illegal mining and logging in the Amazon. Kat Wiener reports.
The fighter aircraft being deployed to stop supplies reaching illegal mining camps are part of the new government's wide-ranging efforts to protect the Yanomami people in the northern state of Roraima. Last month, Lula declared a medical emergency following reports that indigenous children were dying both of severe malnutrition and of diseases caused by mercury from gold mining operations leaching into the soil and water. An Air Force field hospital set up in the region last week says it's already treated 300 people, mainly children.
World News from the BBC. Britain has suffered its biggest day of industrial action for a decade. The strikes by up to 500,000 workers caused major disruption to education, transport and other services. Unions argue pay increases offered by the government are inadequate to keep up with annual inflation of more than 10%, but ministers say they can't afford to pay more. Reports from Israel say some Palestinian women prisoners have tried to set fire to their cells while wardens battled to restrain them using tear gas and pepper spray. The Palestinian Prisoners Society says the incident was in reaction to new restrictions introduced by Israel's far-right security minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir. These are said to include the confiscation of inmates' electronic devices and personal goods. Some prisoners are also said to have been placed in solitary confinement. Hundreds of police officers in Pakistan's northwest have held protests demanding a credible investigation into recent attacks on their colleagues in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. The demonstrations came after more than 100 people, most of them police officers, were killed in a suicide blast in a mosque in the provincial capital Peshawar on Monday. This officer joined the protests.
For the past 2 or 3 months, our men are being continuously killed and no one is raising any questions. Every day our men are being martyred and not a single person is coming out to protest and ask, why are these policemen dying? Why are they being killed without being guilty of any crime? Who is our war with?
Georgia's jailed former president Mikhail Saakashvili has told a court in Tbilisi he's being tortured and poisoned. His lawyers have appealed to have his sentence deferred on humanitarian grounds so he can get urgent medical treatment abroad. He was jailed after returning to Georgia in 2021 following 8 years in exile. He's serving a 6-year sentence for abuse of power while in office, which he denies. BBC News.